What's up everyone, my name is Alpha and we're back with another Pokemon challenge video. Today we're on Pokemon Moon and today's challenge will be can I beat Pokemon Moon Hardcore Nuzlocke using only ice type Pokemon. Surprisingly, I haven't used this typing a lot in my videos because it's one of my favorite typings and it's actually pretty interesting when you do a Hardcore Nuzlocke with only ice type Pokemon because they're generally very difficult to use and they're very weak and defensively. So I want to try it out in Pokemon Sun and Moon, which I consider one of the harder Pokemon games to Nuzlocke in the mainline series games. But anyways, let's get into the rules of this video. To start off with, it's gonna be a hardcore Nuzlocke. Obviously we only use ice type Pokemon in this Nuzlocke. We can only catch one Pokemon per route, which isn't too much of an issue. Actually, I take it back, most of the Pokemon will come at the end of the game at Mount La and Kahili, which is kind of a big letdown. So I decided to give myself a starter ice type Pokemon just to, you know, have an ice type Pokemon because we're not gonna have one for a while. And I decided to play on Moon, so I actually barred myself from using the most broken ice type Pokemon, which is Alolan Ninetales. So I avoided using that Pokemon because it's so broken. Out of good faith, I gave myself another ice type Pokemon that I would have got from Mount La and Kahili, or one of the possibilities of getting from that mountain. So I think it's a fair trade-off, evenly matched. And as well, continue down the lines of rules. Each of my Pokemon will only have one life, so if they ever faint, they are dead. So there's a death counter on the bottom left of the screen, as well there's a level cap on the bottom left, and the level cap will be based on the Kahuna's highest level Pokemon. So you gotta be careful while leveling up your Pokemon. And as well, you can use items inside of battle, and you must play on set mode. And pretty simple rules. On top of that, each of my Pokemon will be nicknamed after you guys in the comments. So thanks so much for leaving a nickname in my previous challenge video. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me that you guys support my channel. Let's get into the challenge video itself. So I decided to give myself a Sneasel, an ice and dark type Pokemon to begin off the game. I think it's one of the better ones. I could have gave myself a Vanillish, but I decided against that because I think Sneasel is way cooler to have. We're not going to be able to evolve this for a very long time. It's going to be a trial. At least it's very strong. It's actually didn't get an evolution into Generation 4, which I don't know how people use Sneasel before then. But from there, we're going to actually go out into Route 2 where we have access into catching the next Pokemon on our team. Now this Pokemon only is found in berry trees. Now I've actually decided to save in front of this berry tree and just keep resetting. Unfortunately, it comes with the same Pokemon at the same level and the same gender, so most likely it's the same Pokemon. So we have to actually counteract this. We have to defeat this berry tree first. We have to change the date every single time to get a new encounter without actually interacting with it. So if we save before we interact with it on the same route, and then we change the day, we get a new encounter, and then we keep doing that until we find ourselves a shiny Crabrawler. Which, I mean, it's difficult to really explain, but we just found ourselves a Crabrawler and it almost knocks out my Sneasel. Lucky enough, we had a Great Balls to capture this thing. That would have been terrible. I don't know what I've done if I did all that just for it to knock out my Sneasel. But from there, we're going to face off against the first trial in the game. We're going to face off against the normal type trial, but in Pokemon Moon, it's actually two typings. It's a normal and dark type, which is very annoying. But luckily enough for us, in the Verdant Cavern in the trial space, you actually get a TM for Brick Break, and it's 4 times weak to fighting moves. And lucky enough, our Crabrawler is a fighting type Pokemon. It's going to one-shot the Eradicate for us, and we end up clearing through the first trial of the game. From there, we're going to face off against Hala next. I could have got myself a Delibird. I just completely forgot to get myself a Delibird. But we're going to face off against the Kahuna in the game. We're going to face off against Hala. And he's the fighting type Kahuna of the game. We're going to start the battle off against him using my Crabrawler to actually go for a workup. And then go for a Brick Break, which will actually end up one-shotting the Mankey. He ends up critting me with a Karate Chop, but that's fine. It actually works out better for me as he sends out his Makuhita next. He's going to fake out me, actually activate my Citrus Berry. I got tons of berries from my berry hunting, and I'm able to actually Brick Break into him and knock him out in one shot. His next Pokemon will be his own Crabrawler. I go for a Brick Break. It doesn't knock him out. He goes out for an all-out pummeling, and lucky enough, my Crabrawler actually hits the gym and is built for this, as he's able to survive an all-out pummeling and actually Brick Break and knock out the opposing Crabrawler. Now, speaking of actually hitting the gym and getting in shape, it actually pertains to our partnership on this video. This video is actually partnered up with Future Fitness. Future Fitness is a personalized coaching fitness app that pairs you up with your own highly credentialed fitness coach who will guide and hold you accountable while also keeping your workouts fresh and fun. Upon signing up, you'll have a video call with your coach who will design a fitness plan unique to you. Together, you and your coach will work together to achieve your fitness goal, and if you start to get bored of your plan at all, your coach is there to change it up for you and keep you on the right track. It's personalized just for you and is very connected. Future coaches have trained many different people, including professional athletes to also working professionals. If you want to start off 2023 off right, crush your fitness goals, then I have a very special offer for you. With this link, you can try your first month for free. So click the first link in the description and sign up for Future Fitness and claim this special offer, or you can even scan the QR code on the top right of the screen. So thanks again to Future Fitness for this partnership. Anyways, once we're cleared through the first Kahuna of the game, we're going to move out into the second island, which is going to be Akala Island. We're going to move out into Route 4, where we're just going to search out for our next shiny Pokemon. Now, it's also not going to be an Ice-type Pokemon. It's going to evolve into one eventually, but we're going to shiny hunt for a shiny Eevee, which we've done so many times at this point. But we're going to find ourselves a shiny Eevee, add it to our team, and just hold it for a very long time, because when we evolve it to a Glaceon, we'll be at the Elite Four, so that's going to be fun. After that, we're going to face off against the next trial in the game. We're going to face off against the Water Trial. We're going to face off against the Wishy-Washy. We're going to start the battle off against the Wishy-Washy using my Crab Brawler. For some reason, he actually went for a Soak and actually changed my typing to a Water typing. I do less damage since I'm not Fighting type anymore, but he does less damage because I'm a Water type now. I'm actually able to survive a lot more hits, get him down to low HP, switch out to my Sneasel, which does not take a Water Gun too easy. This thing actually has enormous stats in all its stats except speed, so it's actually pretty strong as a Pokemon. But we hit him down to low HP, where he's actually going to transform into his schooling form, and for some reason, I attacked the SOS Pokemon, and then it forces him to call out another SOS Pokemon. Now, easily, I could have just lost my Sneasel because of that, but lucky enough, Alomomola, the second SOS Pokemon, is unable to do a lot of damage to me as I switch out to my Crab Brawler, and it's able to knock him out with 2 shots, and we end up beating down the second trial in the game, the Water Trial. Now, we have access to using the Fishing Rod, but first, we actually want to go back into Route 4 and go out and shiny hunt in certain patches of grass for our next Pokemon. Our next Pokemon is going to be Ice and Flying type Pokemon. Yes, an actual Ice type Pokemon. We actually go out and find ourselves a Delibird in the wild. We shiny hunt for him. It takes a little bit. It's a 10% encounter here, and we're able to find him, add it to our team, which is nice. Now, next up, we're going to go out into Kalas Bay, which in this fishing area, you're able to find yourselves a Magikarp and all the good things, but you're also able to find yourself a Shelter in the special encounter 20% of the time, and I believe 5% of the time if it's not a special Ripple encounter. We're going to spend our time fishing for our next shiny Pokemon, which eventually we find ourselves a shiny Shelter, which I always forget. It always surprises me how amazing the shiny Shelter looks. I hope all the shiny hunters out there realize how great of a shiny this Pokemon looks like. It's so different. It's such a perfect color. Unfortunately, Cloyster does not keep the same color when it evolves. Now from there, we're going to go out into the next trial in the game. We're going to face off against the Fire Trial. We're going to start the battle off against the Totem Salazzle using my Crab Brawler, which isn't the best idea. Thinking back to it, actually no, it's a great idea because I use Rock Tomb to start off the battle, lower the speed of the Salazzle, and it's going to allow me to Dizzy Punch, and I have Iron Fist as a move, so it's obviously going to knock out the Salazzle. As the Salandis can go for a Poison Gas, I'm able to knock him out with a Rock Tomb, and we end up clearing through Salazzle pretty easily. I thought the Fire Trial was going to be a lot harder for me as I'm an Ice type. Well, most of my Pokemon, 2 of my Pokemon are Ice type Pokemon, and I only caught 1 of them because the other one I gave myself it. Anyways, we can go out to the Grass Trial next. I thought this Grass Trial was going to be a lot harder since most of my Pokemon are slower than this Lurantis and also not very strong. But lucky enough, we have this Delibird with Sharp Beak and Hustle as an ability, and look at this. It almost one-shot, very close to one-shotting this Totem Lurantis. By the way, this Lurantis is fully evolved and also very strong. So lucky enough for us, we're able to 2-shot him just using Drill Peck. We land both Drill Pecks and knock out the Lurantis. I don't know why I stayed in. I should have switched out my Actually, no, staying in was a good idea because Drill Peck would just knock out the Castform for us as we end up clearing through the final Elemental Trial on this island. I'm going to spend a lot of time QR scanning up a bunch of new Pokemon for us so we get a bunch of island points, and in this game you can scan a bunch of QR codes, you get points, and every single day there's different encounters you can get in the game. I've completely forgot about this feature in my previous videos. I'm able to actually remember there's only 2 Ice type Pokemon available for us on the island scans, which is Swinub in Mount Lanakini, of course. There's also another one called Spheal in actually Route 7, so that's actually pretty useful for us. We're gonna go out, get ourselves 10 different QR codes, get all our points, and then finally have access to shiny hunt for a Spheal. Lucky enough for us, Spheal actually encounters pretty highly in this area. It looks like I'm lying because Tentacle's only spawning here, but most of the time you get a bunch of Spheals, and eventually you find yourselves a shiny Spheal, which is gonna be a water and ice type Pokemon. Unfortunately, it doesn't learn any ice moves at all. It learns Ice Ball, and that's very annoying. From there, we're going to go into the Stone Shop and get ourselves a Water Stone, which we're going to evolve our Shelter later on. And from there, we're going to face off against Olivia next. Olivia is the second Kahuna in the game. We're going to start the battle off against her using my Spheal. Again, not the best choice, but Spheal can live any attack because it's pretty tanky. Able to live 2 Rock Slide, unfortunately gets paralyzed, so I gotta switch out into my Crab Brawler, and I go for a Power Punch, knock out the Nose Pass, and then her next Pokemon will be a Boulder. I'm able to get 3 Power Punches in front of him, so at this point I'm +4. She then sends out her Lightning Rock, and she opted not to go for a Continental Crush. As she goes for a Rock Throw, I'm able to go for a Power Punch. Looking from the damage, maybe it would have actually killed me, because that Rock Throw did a lot more than I expected. So it doesn't matter as we're able to beat down Olivia, but maybe she should have Z-move. I mean, she didn't lose anything from that, but we end up beating Olivia, and now we go out into the next trial. This trial is pretty easy, the Electric trial. We're going to face off against this Vigavo, which isn't too difficult. As you can see, I'm using my Sneasel. It has a bug move. I'm not too sure what I'm doing, but it has a bug move. It's going to eventually paralyze me and also bug bite me, so I decided to switch out into my Delibird. Now, Delibird actually counters it pretty nicely. I don't think it has an electric move. It has Spark, but it's not really an electric move. As I go for a Drill Peck, knock out the Vigavo, and also knock out the Charger Bug for us. Nothing too difficult. Delibird is actually pretty underrated right now. It's actually one of my favorite Pokemon to use at the moment because it's so useful. It's so powerful with Hustle, Short Beak, and Drill Peck. Such a powerful Pokemon. But from there, we're going to face off against Guzma next. Guzma particularly only has Bug-type Pokemon, so I use my Delibird. I go for a Drill Peck against him. He has to go for an emergency exit. He switches out. I go for a Drill Peck against his Ariados. He goes for a Shadow Sneak. He does a lot of damage to me, which is unfortunate. But I level up, and then he goes out to his Gillespie once again. I end up missing my Drill Peck, and then he goes for a Razor Shell and knocks out my Delibird. And I'm like, this is how I lose my Pokemon? This is how I lose my favorite Pokemon. Just from that. A Drill Peck miss, and then he knocks me out, which is so unfortunate. But whatever, we have to keep moving on. From there, we have access to Tapu Village, and we're going to search out for our next shiny Pokemon. Lucky enough for us, we actually found ourselves a Alolan Sandshrew as our shiny Pokemon for this route. So we're going to add it to our team as our next Pokemon, and then move out and face off against the Ghost Totem next. The Ghost Totem is going to be facing off against the Mimikyu, and surprisingly enough, Eviolite Alolan Sandshrew actually is the best counter to him. As I'm able to Iron Head, obviously break his disguise. He can spawn in a Haunter next. I'm able to go for an Iron Head against him. He goes for a Shadow Claw. I go for an Iron Head. Almost knocks him out in one turn, and judging from the damage, I feel like I could live another attack not pretty well, but I could just barely live an attack. He goes for a Mimic instead of actually attacking me, and unfortunately the Hunter goes for a Nightshade, so if it did attack me, my Alolan Sandshrew would actually got knocked out. But I'm able to actually Iron Head, knock out the Mimikyu, and then switch out my poor Alolan Sandshrew, because that almost gambled him away. I go out into my Sneasel, knock out the Haunter, and we end up beating the Ghost Totem without any issues at all. Just a little issue with the Nightshade, but that's fine. We finally have more of an Ice team as we're able to evolve a few new Pokemon. We're able to evolve our Shelter into a Cloyster, which is Water and Ice now, and we're able to evolve our Sandshrew into a Alolan Sandslash, which is also still an Ice type. Unfortunately, we can't actually utilize its ability because we have no Hail. That's alright. We're going to face off against Guzma next. Guzma, this time around, does not take any of my Pokemon ever, so we're lucky for that. And from there, we're going to face off against Nanu next. Nanu is going to be the Kahuna of this island. We're going to start the battle off against Nanu using my Sneasel. Now, Sneasel actually has Swords Dance as a really good move. It goes for a Power Gem against me, and I could go for another Swords Dance, which is... Oh, I didn't decide not to go for another Swords Dance. I decided to go for a Beat Up, knock out the Sableye, and then I go for a Break. He goes for a Fake Out. Inner Focus works like a charm, knocks out the Persian, and then his final Pokemon will be a Krokorok, which I go for a Break and knock him out as well. And we end up beating Nanu super easily. Very easy. I didn't realize he was the Kahuna until now. Wow, we just cleared him pretty easily. From there, we face off against Guzma again, and Guzma is very easy. As you can see, Alolan Sandslash knocks out his entire team with Air Lace. Out of everything, Swords Dance Air Lace destroys Guzma, and that's it. From there, we're going to face off against the final Kahuna of the game. We're going to face off against Hapu next. Hapu's going to be the ground type Kahuna of the game. We're going to start the battle off against her using my Cloyster. Her Alolan Dugtrio goes for a Sandstorm, which I take. It's because I'm able to raise the show and knock her out pretty easily. Her next Pokemon will be a Mudsteel, which I go for a Protect. Survive a Tectonic Rage very easily, as I'm able to go for a Razor Shell. Lower her defense, so her stamina boost actually doesn't get applied. So I'm able to go for a Razor Shell once again, knock out the Mudsteel, which is amazing for us. And then her next Pokemon will be a Flygon. Maybe I should have stayed in and Ice Sharded, but I don't think I had the facilities for that one. as I go out into my wall ring and I accidentally click Ice Ball. I thought I taught Blizzard to him, but unfortunately wall ring becomes a casualty of my stupidity because I forgot I didn't put Blizzard on him. So unfortunately for that, I'm able to Ice Cold Spear into the Flygon using my Sand Slash. Then her next Pokemon will be a Gastrodon, which my Sneasel will handle not too well. I mean, I had to go back and forth. I got a Swords Dance back and forth. Eventually, I end up knocking out the Gastrodon, but it takes a little bit as we're able to beat down Hapu, and now we can move on. We actually almost lose to this trainer, the first trainer in the cave as well. Lucky enough, our closer is able to Razor Shell and knock out the Arcanine, and we use a bit of items here because we want to, like, we're not grinding out any levels. We're actually grinding out an item that we need to evolve our Pokemon, and I wasn't just gonna stay here and, like, you know, switching between my Pokemon and not regain HP because I have to go back all the way to, like, Lily to regain my HP. So I use an item. I just use a potion. It's not in, like, an important battle or anything, so I'm just trying to get the Razor Claw, which I eventually do. A 5% Razor Claw from the hack mode, evolves my Sneasel into a Weavile, and then from there I'm able to face off against Lucamine in the Distortion world. We're gonna start the battle off against her using my Sand Slash, which she starts the battle off against us using a Clefable. I accidentally went for an Iron Head, which I didn't mean to. Didn't flinch her at all either, and she's gonna go for a Smog. I go for a Swords Dance. She's gonna put me to sleep, which is very annoying, but eventually I get a +6 on my Sand Slash, which I'm able to Iron Head into the Clefable to knock her out, which is very nice. Her next Pokemon will be a Beware, which I'm not too sure which one does more, Iron Head or Aerial Ace. I decided to go for an Iron Head because it might flinch, because I'm not too sure if I could even knock this thing out in one shot, and surprise, surprise, I couldn't. Lucky enough, it does flinch him, so I'm able to go for an Iron Head once again to knock out the Beware at the very least. Her next Pokemon will be a Miss Magus. I know this thing has Mystical Fire, but I'm pretty sure for some reason it's just programmed to use Pain Split, so I actually just stayed in and it went for Pain Split. I'm like, why does it always go for Pain Split? I'm never scared of this Miss Magus, as I'm able to knock him out, also knock out the Milotic and also the Lilligant, as we're able to beat down Lucamine pretty easily. Now from there, we're going to face off against Gladion and just wipe out the entire family tree. We'll beat Lucamine, now Gladion. We're going to beat Lily next, as we're finally on Mount Lanakini. We're able to evolve our Crabrawler, which I completely forgot about, into a Crabominable, which is a nice Pokemon. From there, we're able to evolve our Eevee into a Glaceon with the Ice Rock. And then from there, we're also able to Shiny Hunt for our last Pokemon here. Our last Pokemon could be anything. It could be a Vanillish or a Snorunt. And I got myself a Shiny Snorunt, which I had to search up because I didn't know if I could get a Dawnstone. And surprise, surprise, I don't think you could get a Dawnstone before the post game. So unfortunately, we're gonna get ourselves a Snorunt and evolve it to a Glalie, which, I mean, it's not the worst thing, as we're going to head into the Elite Four next. We're actually going to start off our Elite Four challenge going the opposite way of what we normally do, as we're going to go right to left. We're going to start our Elite Four challenge off against Kahili first. Kahili is the flying type Elite Four member of the game. We're going to start the battle off against her using my Cloyster. So we're just going to Shell Smash once against her Skarmory, because the Skarmory can do a lot of damage to us. Unfortunately, it's going to survive my Ice Cold Spear since I don't have Skill Link, as I'm able to go for another Shell Smash, and the Ice Cold Spear will knock out the Skarmory for us, as her next Pokemon will be a Mana Buzz. I'm able to Ice Cold Spear, and then the Toucan goes down pretty easily. Also, her Oricorio goes down, and then her final Pokemon will be a Crobat, which I outspeed and knock out pretty easily. We beat down Kahili because we're going to clear through as many Elite Four members we can with very minimal casualties before we face off against Hala. So we're going to face off against Acerola next. Acerola is going to be the Ghost type Elite Four member of the game. We're going to start the battle off against her using my Weavile, which so cool. I love Weavile. I start the battle off by using a Swords Dance, and I get confused, which is kind of annoying. But I get a Persian Berry off, and I'm able to Night Slash into the Sableye to knock him out in one shot. Knock out the Delmice as well in one shot. Her next Pokemon will be a Palossand, which I'm pretty sure I can Night Slash and knock out as well. Her next Pokemon will be a Frostlass, which outspeeds me and then Confuse Rays me. Super annoying. I hit myself in confusion, and now I gotta switch out. I decided to switch out into my Glalie, which I'm able to crunch twice into the Frostlass, survive any moves, and break through Confusion too. So knock out the Frostlass. Her final Pokemon will be a Drifloon. I went out into my Glaceon, and surprise, surprise, Glaceon is terrible. I can't really use Glaceon too well, so I had to switch out to my Sand Slash, and then Ice Cold Spear will knock out the Drifloon for me. As we're able to beat down Acerola and move out into the next Elite Four member. We're going to face off against Olivia next. Olivia is going to be the Rock type Elite Four member of the game. We're going to start the battle off against her using my Crabominable, which, I mean, super strong. Close combat, knock him out in one shot. Her next Pokemon will be a Carbink, which I decided to go out into my Sand Slash. I get 3 Swords Dance up against her, as I'm able to Iron Head into the Carbink to knock him out in one shot. She then switched out into a Lycanroc +6, and an Iron Head would knock out the Lycanroc for sure, as you see. Reflect went down as well, as her next Pokemon will be a Probopass, which I didn't want to stay in. I was hesitant of actually staying in and attacking it, because it could knock me out, but I decided to stay in. It decided to go for a Thunder Wave against me as I'm able to knock him down to half HP. It finally goes for an Earth Power and it doesn't knock me out. Actually goes down to my Papa Berry. Actually works out for me as I'm able to Iron Head and knock out the Pearl Pass. And our final Pokemon will be a Golem. I think this thing has Earthquake. It just never uses Earthquake as it just keeps using Thunder Punch. I knock him down to low HP. Icicle Spirit does not knock him out, so I went out to my Crab. I'm able to Power Punch in a close combat to knock him out, and we end up beating Olivia. So things are looking pretty simple for us as we're going to face off against the final Elite Four member, the hardest one. We're going to face off against the Fighting type Elite Four member, Hala. We're going to start the battle off against him using my Glaceon out of everything. Glaceon is actually going to Charm into the Hariyama, which is huge. Take a close combat, which is surprising, and then go for another Charm to lower his attack stat once again. And then from there, I'm gonna go for a bunch of Sand Attack to lower his accuracy against my Glaceon, which actually works out pretty well as it's unable to knock me out and uses all its PP on close combat. So now I can't hit anything as I go out to my Weavile, which is 4 times weak to fighting, by the way. I'm actually gonna go for a bunch of Swords Dances up against him. It actually works out for me pretty well as I'm able to break into him and knock him out in one shot. He then sends out his Crab Vulnerable, which I'm able to break as well, knock him out. His next Pokemon will be a Primate, which I'm able to break, knock him out as well. His next Pokemon though, then send out his Bewear and survives a +6 break, which is super effective. He then goes for a Hammer Arm and he knocks me out, which is so annoying. So from there, I gotta switch out to my Crab Vulnerable, which I'm able to Power Punch and then close combat to knock him out. His next Pokemon will be a Poliwrath. Maybe thinking back to it, maybe I should have gone for a close combat. Then I have 5 Pokemon alive, but I'm pretty sure this thing would have knocked me out. So I switched out to my Glalie. I just let my Glalie went down. Free Stride did not do a lot of damage at all as I go out to my Sandslash next, and unfortunately Sandslash is unable to actually knock out the Poliwrath as he's gonna knock out my Sandslash as well, but he's actually gonna knock himself out in Recoil, so we take that to some respect. We lose 3 Pokemon in the process, but it had to be done as we're able to beat down Hala. The battle was actually going pretty well until that happened, until my Weavile was unable to beat down the Bewear, but it happens. From there, we're going to face off against the champion of the game. We're going to face off against Professor Kukui next. He's going to start the battle off against us using a Lycanroc like always. We're going to start the battle off against him using my Crab. Crab is getting close combat into Lycanroc and knock him out in one shot. He ends up not setting up Stealth Rocks, which is huge. So from there, I decided to actually sack my Crab in front of this Bravery. I switch out to my Glaceon to lower his attack stat with Charm, and then eventually just by switching out and switching in, eventually I'm just going to sack my Glaceon. Now the purpose of sacking Glaceon is that this Bravery actually has Whirlwind, so there's no point in switching out into my Cloyster to just Shell Smash and get hit with Brave Birds and then getting Whirlwind out. So I decided to just sack my Glaceon as well, and I'm putting everything in this Cloyster. Every single thing into this Cloyster. So eventually he's gonna knock out my Glaceon, and then I can switch out into my Cloyster next. Cloyster obviously gets 3 Shell Smash since Bravery's attack is lowered so harshly, and also I think it ran out of Brave Birds anyways. Actually, I think it hits me with 1, but I think it's fine as I'm able to just Shell Smash up, take a Brave Bird from him. Doesn't do a lot of damage, surprisingly enough, as I'm able to Icicle Spirit into the Bravery, knock him out in one shot. His next Pokemon will be a Magnezone, which I was hoping Icicle Spear will actually do enough, as I'm able to get only, unfortunately, 3 hits with Icicle Spear. But he goes for a Thunder Wave, and he misses Thunder Wave out of everything, allowing me to go for an Icicle Spear and knocking out the Magnezone in 3 more shots. And somehow we survive the Magnezone. He goes out to his Snorlax next. Icicle Spear is unable to knock him out. He goes for a Body Slam, almost knocks me out into my Papa Berry. But I could go for a Race Shell and it will knock him out in one shot. His next Pokemon will be a Prima Marina, which I go for an Icicle Spear. Lucky enough, it does a lot of damage. It needs to hit 4, and it does hit 4. What a clutch shot. And his final Pokemon will be his Ninetales, which I outspeed and one shot with a Razor Shell. And we end up beating Professor Kukui somehow, some way. We did it. Honestly, I don't think it needed to be clutched up. I almost choked that. I can't believe the Elite Four almost cleared me out. 7 deaths is crazy. One of the bloodiest videos in a long time. A lot of deaths. Cloyster is the last man surviving, and we end up beating Pokemon Moon Hardcore Nuzlocke using only Ice-type Pokemon. If I had Ninetales, I'm pretty sure I would have cleared this pretty easily. Did not think when banning Ninetales, I forgot about Hala being the Elite Four member, because if I had Ninetales, I think I would have cleared this like 6-0 with like 2 deaths, honestly. But anyways, that'll be the end of this video. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. If you guys all enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget our partner for this video is Future Fitness, so click the link in the description to sign up for a free month off. Anyways, my name is Alpha. Hope you all had a great day, and I'm out. Peace.